guys, ChiroFit Health and Wellness, Dr. John here, and we're going to talk about some posture stuff. And on previous videos we talked about some of our shoulder things, how we can stretch the shoulders, how we can increase some of the posture like this. Now we're going to go to the lower half of your body. So a lot of people think they have tight hamstrings, right? Everybody thinks they have tight hamstrings. They do this simple thing and they're stuck here and they're not going any further, and they're saying, oh, my hamstrings are tight. The majority of the time that's wrong. So what's happening instead is that we're sitting too much, doing too many things where our hip flexors and our quads are getting chronically short and tight. And that is driving our pelvis forward, and it's called anterior pelvic tilt. So it's pushing like this. Well, if your hamstrings are connected from here to here, and now I'm elongating them because I'm pulling my pelvis up like this, then they are going to feel like they're tight, but they're actually being overstretched. So you stretching them is not going to help the problem at all. It might actually irritate it, and you're for sure not going to get any more range of motion. Maybe you get like a teeny little bit, but what we're looking for instead is to fix this anterior pelvic tilt and address some of the musculature that's not firing correctly, which is glutes and hamstrings are not supporting like they're supposed to, and these are too tight. So we've got Amy here, our trainer, and so we're just going to kind of point out on Amy. So when we push her pelvis forward like this, these guys get chronically tight up in here, and that's where a lot of the low back pain gets. Plus, your psoas muscle, which is a hip flexor, gets really tight, and it sort of traps us forward. Well, now the hamstrings are going to be really stiff when we're leaning forward and trying to stretch them. So instead, what we're trying to do is get the pelvis back down by firing the glutes and the hamstrings. The glutes and the hamstrings pull this way. The hip flexors and the quads pull that way in the front. So we need to balance that equation back out. And so there's a few different ways. Obviously, as a chiropractor, I go in and I'm looking at the sacrum and how the sacrum and the pelvis is moving, and then how it compares to the lumbar spine. We do adjustments on the sacrum to get it to push back down and get some of that tilt out, but then we need to get the muscles also to follow in suit. So a couple of simple exercises. I'm just going to have Amy just lay flat on the floor. She's just going to drive her feet down on the ground and bend her knees, and she's just going to lift her pelvis up. And we want it just like this, where it's just this straight kind of ramp. We don't want any of this going on. We want straight up and down. Right now, she's really contracting her glute muscles, and also her hamstrings are under a lot of tension. So 2 minutes. Hold this position for 2 minutes. If you can't hold this position for 2 minutes, work up to it. Start by doing intervals of 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. Get up to 2 minutes. Once you can do 2 minutes in this position comfortably, then what we're going to do is push one leg out and hold that for 1 minute. And then we're going to do it on the opposite side, holding for 1 minute. And this gets very challenging. Amy's in very good shape because she's a trainer, but most people, you try this at home, it's going to be very challenging. The floor is going to start shaking and everything, so let's drop back down. And it's just something to start to get those glutes and those hamstrings activated so that they're starting to actually pull the pelvis back the opposite way. Also, we need to stretch your hip flexors, and we need to stretch some of the stuff that's pulling you forward. So then, I'm having you pop up here. So we'll show you real quick, we'll kind of both do it, but there's 3 really good hip flexor stretches. One is the pigeon pose, and everyone's sort of heard of that, but a lot of people cheat with that. They get into this position here, and their legs back. It needs to be at 90 degrees to your body. It needs to be perpendicular to your body. This is going to be a lot harder for people to get into. If you have knee problems, you need to ease into this and not push it as hard. Then you can do a little bit of this first to start with, but ideally, we're way back here, and we can even take our elbow and trap this position, or take our hand and trap this position. And we're sitting in this position, and the idea is to lower yourself down to the floor. So you need to check both sides and see, okay, am I more flexible on one side versus the other, and get into those positions. Also, we're looking to do the butterfly position as well. And so we kind of get our feet close together like this. And Amy will show you from the front, I'll show you from the side. We're trying to drive our knee down to the floor. Now I can't get it all the way flat to the floor, but some people can. Awesome. And you're just trying to work on that. Get your heels close together, or close to your pelvis as possible, and drive those down, stretching some of these inside muscles to kind of help keep this from collapsing in. So it's pulling back out like this. And then finally, our last stretch is just the simple lunge stretch like this. But what we're going to do is activate our glutes first. You have to activate your glutes first. So if I just let my pelvis go into anterior pelvic tilt like this, and then I kind of stretch like this, it's not a very beneficial stretch. You're not going to feel a whole lot, basically. If you sit up like this, squeeze your glutes first, which drives your pelvis out of that anterior pelvic tilt, then stick your hands here and push away. You're going to feel a much bigger stretch into here and here, and that's what we're looking to stretch and open up. So just simple exercises, simple stretches, but very beneficial in fixing that anterior pelvic tilt. Thank you very much.